Hello guys, welcome back to the Ultimate Channel CK with me, Dr. Lewis Mchile. Once again, thank you for the support. For those who have not subscribed, keep subscribing and let's learn more. So today I'm going to talk about the relationship between cancer and sugar. And we cannot talk about cancer without understanding the origin of cancer. In our previous video, we had said that it's a little tricky to have a specific definition for the word cancer because it's all about mutations, it's all about radiations, it's in diets. So there's so much to talk about cancer for the sake of its definition. And for that matter, today I'm going to break it down in a way that someone can easily understand. So how do we understand cancer? How do we even start to think about cancer and possibly get to prevent it? Number one, you cannot understand cancer without understanding the mitochondria. Now, the mitochondria is the body energy mechanism or machinery. This is where all our energy comes from, in the cells. Now, so the damage in mitochondria is the source of all mutations in our body, and that is cancer. Number two, the fuel mechanisms that boosts or that fuels these cancer cells to grow. Now, remember, cancer does not survive on any other source of energy apart from sugar. And when I talk about sugar, I'm talking about simple sugars and carbohydrates. And number two, glutamine. Glutamine is an amino acid that comes from proteins. So cancer survives on those two energy sources. And number three, the triggers that bring about cancer. So what are the triggers that bring about cancer? We have at least four. We have diets, we have radiation. Those of you who go for cancer screening, mammography, I share the thought that some of these screening expose patients or clients to more chances of getting cancer in the near future. So you can weigh your options on that. Now, so we talked about diets, radiation, then stress, and chemicals. Now, diet and chemicals, they go hand in hand. Okay? Good. So now that you've had that basis, I also want you to understand that cancer cells cannot survive on oxygen. They survive on low oxygen levels. And this is the major factor because since they survive on low oxygen levels, they force your energy mechanism, which is the mitochondria, to shift its metabolism from aerobic to anaerobic respiration. And that means it will start performing fermentation. And therefore the body adapts to this fermentation because it's the cells of the cancer cells force it to work under low oxygen for them to survive. So as a body's mechanism to adapt, it starts it presses the mitochondria in the cells to start producing energy through fermentation. Okay, good. So now, since this one has started fermentation and you're getting this carbon dioxide, now the cancer cells find a chance to thrive because again you're eating sugar, and this sugar is a good source of energy for cancer. And again, you're eating glutamine. Now I'll talk about this glutamine because this one substance or this one amino acid you cannot avoid because it's basically in all foods. So it's hard to avoid. You can only reduce the amount of intake of glutamine, but you cannot avoid it. So let's go straight to cancer triggers. I already mentioned that we have radiation. I already mentioned that we have chemicals, we have stress, and we have diets. Now these four, how do they affect cancer? Now, radiation induces, again, cellular metabolisms that induce mutations in the cells. Now, once you induce these mutations, the cells start multiplying irresponsibly or in a rate that is a little higher than normal cells. So, radiations that come from X-rays, radiation that come from mammography, screenings, and all that. Now, under radiation, we also have ultraviolet radiation for those people who have skin problems. Like the albino. So in albinism, you might have a problem in radiation that comes from the sun, which is ultraviolet radiation. So be cautious of radiation. Number two, we have chemicals. Now chemicals, these chemicals straight from the soil, straight from fertilizers, straight from agriculture. We consume these chemicals through food. After these vegetables and these plants have been cultivated, and these animals have been fed on soy products, have been fed on estrogenic products. So your chances of getting cancer go high because estrogen and soy products have high content of estrogen. So that means when estrogen gets into your body, it exposes women to breast, cervical, ovarian, and other forms of cancer. Again, to men too, it now starts lowering the chances of testosterone, levels of testosterone. That means you will have chances of testicular cancer. Now, stress. Stress comes as a result of a hormone called cortisol, which is produced by adrenal glands that are on top of your kidneys. Now, the higher the amount of cortisol, the higher your stress levels. Now remember, cortisol is produced in the morning, around 4 to 8 a.m. in the morning, every day as a counter-regulatory hormone. So its work is to pump glucose from the liver into your blood system so that you can start up your day having energy. Now, this stress hormone inhibits most neurotransmitters in the brain, so you'll have problems with good sleep, you'll have problems with mood, and since it comes out in the morning, again you'll have problems with anxiety and this tiredness all the time, even after you've slept. So, reducing amount of stress in your body by all chances. And someday we'll talk about how to reduce cortisol in a video because it's a huge deal too. How to reduce cortisol levels so that you can reduce your stress, you can have good sleep, and your mood will be elevated. Now, next is diets. As I said, cancer cells only thrive on diets that are highly carbohydrates or simple sugars. And again, seed oils. Seed oils go through refining, and that refining, they add in chemicals, they add in preservatives, and they make you the oils that are written on 0% cholesterol. And yet, I repeat, you need cholesterol for your survival. So these diets, seed oils, simple carbohydrates, confectionery, all these sweet things that you consume, and these things that give you cravings all the time, are the sources of cancer. These four will now trigger your development of cancer or your future proliferation of cancer cells. Now, also understand, we said the first thing to understand is the triggers of cancer, and then the second thing are the energy sources. So I've talked about the triggers, and now the energy sources. I also talked about it, and I told you there are two. One is sugar, and two is glutamine. Now, glutamine is in all forms of food. Glutamine is in meat, glutamine is in nuts, glutamine is in eggs and vegetables. So basically, even ketogenic diets have glutamine, okay, as an amino acid. Now, this glutamine, you cannot avoid it, but you can reduce your exposure to glutamine. How do you reduce your exposure to glutamine? Now, there's a chemical component that is under research, and it's called DON. Don't worry about the name. Don't worry about the scientific name because it's a long name. Just get it as DON, DON. Now, this DON is under research, and it inhibits the formation of glutamine, the breakdown of proteins to give you glutamine, or the absorption of glutamine. But this chemical, remember, it comes out as a solution in quotes, but the side effects are very profound. So it has not yet been approved because the side effects are still very dangerous. But in future, we are hoping for the best so that they work on the side effects and then possibly give you a drug that will inhibit glutamine. Okay, but again, you can inhibit glutamine by all other means, including fasting, and you will avoid the drugs. Because remember, in this channel, we don't encourage much use of synthetic products. We encourage you to use natural remedies for prevention and not for treatment. Okay, so now how do you reduce levels of glutamine? Number one, we have green tea. Green tea has chemicals or components that are known to reduce glutamine levels in your system. Number two, we have all types of pepper, bell pepper, red pepper. Use this pepper because it also has components that reduce glutamine in your system. Number three, sauerkraut. This is fermented cabbage. We talked about it in last videos. So it also has good components like lactic acid that help you reduce glutamine levels in your system. Then the last one, which is the most obvious and we practice all the time, is intermittent fasting. So you can do intermittent fasting, which is possibly 18 hours of fasting and 6 hours gap of eating, and also periodic prolonged fasting, possibly 48 hours and autophagy marathons, 48 and 72-hour fasting. So remember, if you fast, you're also, when you go for autophagy, that is a 48-hour fast, you are also reducing the amount of carbohydrates you're taking in. So the body is concentrated now on breaking fat and building protein. So once you break fat, you get ketones. And ketones are the best sources of energy for the brain and the cells. And remember, cancer cells survive on low oxygen, survive on sugar and glutamine. But cancer cells have no ability to survive on ketones. But our normal cells have the ability to survive on ketones because it's the best energy for them. So once you go undergo fasting, that's why cancer patients are advised to fast, possibly even 21 days. Why? Because once your body starts burning fat and producing ketone bodies, your cancer proliferation or your cancer cells start dying because they don't have energy. So fasting is very important for cancer patients and cancer and even normal people who want to prevent cancer. Now, so we've now understood cancer, we've now understood the mitochondrial fermentation processes that will lead to cancer. Now, we've also understood that cancer does not utilize oxygen, so it utilizes low oxygen levels and high CO2 levels, carbon dioxide levels. We also say that it utilizes glutamine and sugar. So basically, these, what I've just talked about, those are the means that cancer attacks your body system and your immune mechanism, and that's how you acquire cancer. So you already have the means to prevent yourself from cancer. You also have the means. So once you understand the cause and where it begins and the triggers, now you avoid the triggers. Once you avoid the triggers and once you avoid these two energy sources, sugar and glutamine, then you're free from cancer. Thank you for watching this video. We hope you learned something about cancer and we hope you can use this information for prevention. We'll see you in the next.